Good morning, everyone. Wait, let me gather my thoughts. What are we on about today? Monday, Aussie and Kiwi dollar. I was just about to reply to Steve. We are not on lockdown, but congrats on getting out of lockdown in regional New South Wales. With that said, let's get into it. So, looking at the news here on forextradingasia.com, the economic calendar, what are the news that could move the Aussie or the Kiwi dollar quite significantly this week? Nothing much today. Tomorrow, we've seen some pound news to be released. So I might do a little bit of a change tomorrow. Instead of talking about just the euro dollar and the euro pound, I will tell you a bit more about the pound dollar as well, how to trade these employment numbers to be released at 1400 hours tomorrow. So remember to watch out for that. The US CPI numbers month on month is expected to go from a 0.5% to a 0.4. So what you see here is we're looking at US CPI numbers dropping off a little bit, but on a year-to-year core CPI is looking at 4.3 to 4.2. So looks like a little bit of a stability there in terms of core CPI, in terms of the inflationary number. A little bit more confidence to be thought of for the US dollar here. And then moving on from that, Wednesday, we do have the pound. I'll tell you more about that on Wednesday. No Aussie or Kiwi news, but look at what's going to happen on Thursday morning at 9:30 GMT plus 8 Singapore time. Employment change number for the month of August expected to go from a 2.2K to a minus 70K. So looking like a drop in employment change numbers, with employment rate looking to increase slightly from a 4.6 to a 4.9. So this number looking to drop is primarily all attributed to what's happening with the chat I'm having with Steve, as well, is that we've seen for the last month, or maybe even the last 2 months, quite a major portion of Australia, in terms of the economy, in terms of the different areas being on lockdown. And when you have lockdowns being applied, that is going to impact employment numbers because businesses can't open, people can't get out of the house to go to work. Employment change numbers, hence in this case, goes likely to go from a 2.2 to a minus 70K. With that in mind, I actually think that we might see this as even possibly a bit of a bigger number, not just 70. I think we might even see a maybe a minus 100. But we all know the reasons why this employment change number is going to be bad, right? So we all know why. It might in fact be slightly priced in or expected already. With the unemployment rate number looking to go from a 4.6 to a 4.9, that's also somewhat expected given that employment change numbers is expected to drop so significantly. So put all that together, what could happen for the Aussie dollar? What I think we could see is some short-term weakening, especially on Thursday with the news being released, but maybe a quick resumption back into the trend, given that it might be priced in or it's already been expected. Following on from that, we have Friday business, New Zealand business PMI numbers looking at about a 62.6. Might stay at about that same number, but I think that in this case, New Zealand having recovered quite quickly from the recent lockdown cases, we might see some stability on the New Zealand dollar on that front. And then after that, a whole bunch of other news. What you'll notice here as a side note is that we've got a lot of euro and pound news to be released this week. So you can kind of get the idea that the focus for this week should be the euro and the pound dollar, with a little bit of a dabbling on the Aussie and the Kiwi. So what this all means on the charts here, the Aussie US on the H4 time frame, it really hasn't done that much since last week. When we spoke about this last week, I was thinking that with the rate statements to be released at that point, we might see some clear directions from the RBA, which we haven't. So I'll take those two lines away. We haven't seen any clear break on either side. But what you notice here is from last week, Monday to now, we've only moved about 100 pips in a total range. And that's actually very tight in terms of an FX currency pair, major currency pair across a period of a week. At this point now, I think that we're going to see the Aussie come back to test that 7395 resistance level. Test that resistance level before, with the news expected on Thursday, expecting it to drop back down again. I don't think I will be a bit more cautious, and don't think it will drop all the way down to 7120. That's too big a drop. That's about a 200 pip drop with the way the market has been moving quite conservatively. I would say that we might see the Aussie test this 7395 level before it drops back down because of the news. What you could be looking for on the Aussie is a short trade. A short trade. What I mean by short trade is short term, and short as in to sell it. So what you're looking for here is to sell below 7395 at about a 7382. Very tight stop loss of maybe at the most 40 pips. With a good take profit level of 80 pips, you're looking at a 1:2 risk reward ratio towards the downside for the Aussie dollar on the H4 time frame. This is also playing to the fact that we're going to see relatively bad employment numbers coming to be released on Thursday morning. So with the way I think that we might see the Aussie go, looking at the way the Kiwi is likely to move, means that we're possibly going to see it sit and test this 7073 level. You can see that it's been very strong. Since last week, it came down, it tested level, hasn't bounced up as much as we expected. But in this case, what I think is likely to happen is that we're going to see it slowly climb back up again. We're going to see it slowly climb back up again, or actually maybe sit across. What you notice here is that we don't have a lot of Kiwi news. We have one PMI number on Friday morning, but apart from that, everything else is missing. What we do have is some US CPI numbers. What we do have is inflationary numbers from the US. We do have other US employment numbers, retail sales number to be released, and all that could actually move the Kiwi dollar given the lack of news for the Kiwi itself. So what this means and what I expect here is for the Kiwi dollar to possibly sit across, climb up a little bit back towards the 7140 level before possibly turning back down again. So why that 7140 level? We actually can see it, that was last week's point there. So if we're looking at this level, what I could say is that we're possibly looking for some selling opportunities at that point. You can look for it to turn down. 7137, you would have a tight 20-30 pip stop loss for a good 60 pip take profit level. You're looking at a 1:2 or 1:3 risk reward ratio towards the downside. Don't be tempted to trade this towards the 7146. There is a good 30-40 pip move upwards, but what's likely to happen at this point is that we could see it hit that or come close before reversing quite quickly. So I would rather be in a position to look to sell it down rather than to try and buy it up and to sell it down. So with all that said, I think that we do have quite a few trading opportunities this week, not just for the Aussie dollar, not just for the Kiwi dollar, but we actually do see some good opportunities for the Euro dollar and the Euro pound, primarily because of the news to be released throughout the week. With that, I'll pass it back to you, Scott.